Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. So this past week I actually got an inquiry from my high school history teacher to participate in a project highlighting students that he's taught in the past. So I thought it would be a great idea for this week's video to share some of that information about me, my background, my experiences, so that you guys can get to know me a little bit better moving forward. Let's get started. I am actually first generation American. My family is from Jamaica. My grandfather, many people know him as Jumbo in Harlem. He came to Harlem in the early 90s to set up a pretty popular Jamaican restaurant at the time. It was stationed at 141st and 7th, or Adam Clayton Powell now. And my grandmother and the rest of the family, including my mother, came a few years later to help him run the restaurant as a family business. 4 years later, after that move, I was born. My mom had me at 21. She raised me as a single parent, and it's been the two of us ever since. I actually would say that I was more of a rule follower as a kid. My mom taught me to go to school, get good grades, take care of myself, and to have ambition, and that the rest would take care of itself. I definitely agree with her at this point, but that is exactly the type of child I was. I was extremely future focused, and I really wanted to make the most of my time so that my future would be bright. My eighth grade math teacher. She's definitely the most memorable. For her privacy, we'll call her Mrs. O, but the memory that stands out the most in my mind is on a Saturday afternoon. She called my mom to talk about my performance. Mind you, I had never gotten a call home in all my life, so the look my mother gave me was something serious. Anyways, Mrs. O was actually calling to sing my praises about my performance. Also, something I have never experienced. Honestly, usually my mom would get that information at parent teacher night, right? During report card times. But that was definitely a core memory. A lot of panic and relief all in the span of 2 minutes. So, for some background, since I was in maybe the third grade, I thought I was going to be a doctor, a OBGYN particularly. And in my junior year of high school, I abandoned that plan. Junior year, really important pivotal time, pivotal year of high school. You need to start to figure out what you're going to do once high school is over. So I investigated medical school, what that would be like, and I saw just how broken the healthcare system was at the time, let alone now. I did not want to put myself through that. So, those of us that are in the diaspora can understand this, but we're not given many choices in what career paths would make our parents the most proud. There's about four choices, if you know what the four are. And I believe that my mom definitely fueled the fire, seeing my interest in medicine, that I would automatically become a doctor. When I chose against that, we were at odds. It was quite a contentious time in the household. But I decided in that moment that I needed to make my own decisions about what my future would actually look like. I spent my entire life up until that point following exactly what she thought would be best and what she said. And while it worked up until that point, I was not convinced that continuing to follow exactly what she wanted me to do would bring me to a place that I would want and love to be. So I took my own route. I knew I wanted to work in medicine. I just was not sure how that would manifest. And I took the next year and a half to make my own decisions without her input. Of course, there was a lot of tension in the household, but I have no regrets on that. So, in addition to my academics, was also on the girls lacrosse team in high school. And by my junior year, I was voted to be one of, or the first of four team captains. So I was the primary team captain. And I had been playing lacrosse since my freshman year, so I was extremely excited to be captain. I love leadership roles, so I didn't shy away from it. But the trouble came in where the new coach that year did not or would not adjust her approach in how to get to know us as girls, as people, as lacrosse players during that time. She left a lot of the wrangling of the team members to me, and it caused me a lot of stress in my junior year. On top of trying to figure out exactly what was going on with SATs and which colleges I planned on applying to, on top of keeping up my grades, I also had to deal with being the middleman between the coach and the team. I spent my days dreading going to practice. I would get up in the morning, I would do my homework before school started because after the practice the last day, the only thing I could do was just come home and sleep. I would dread going to practice and I would beg for summer to come every single day that I had to be there with all of them. I loved my team, but the added responsibility that kept piling up was getting to be a bit too much for me. So when senior year rolled around, I decided to do things my way. I was no longer going to be the direct middleman between the team and the coach when it came to pseudo disciplinary action. I left that responsibility to the coach, and as team captain, I made sure that I took care of myself and I made sure the team members were okay, as well as making sure the freshmen and sophomores felt really comfortable getting playtime because I believe almost eight of us seniors were graduating that year. So I wanted to make sure that they felt comfortable. So, college. I went to Northeastern University, go Huskies. And I don't necessarily think I had a hard time adjusting to PWIs. I had previously went to a summer program, the MS Squared program in Andover, Massachusetts, on the Andover's boarding school campus. So I was pretty comfortable with being around people of different backgrounds, socioeconomically, culturally, religiously. That wasn't an issue for me, but I am an only child. So going into freshman year to live in a suite of six of us, so I had five roommates, there were two per room, and I had never shared a room either. So having a direct roommate was a lot for me. I was the only black girl in the room. The others were white and Asian, but that didn't concern me as much as just having so many people in my space. Northeastern was also particularly a bit hard at times, mostly because we had a 12-week semester versus everyone else's 15-week semester. So we had to pack a lot in less time. Our breaks were longer, which was great, but we also had breaks on a different time schedule than every other school did. So all of my friends coming back to New York were still in school while I was on break, and we had maybe like a week overlap. And then I would go back before everyone else did. So, when I decided to go to Northeastern, they gave us the opportunity to actually choose what our major would be as incoming freshmen. I had no idea exactly what I would major in, but I decided to take two AP classes my senior year of high school, AP Calc AB and AP Bio. And a little bit impulsive, but I decided to let the scores decide. Whichever exam I did better on would be my major in college. I did not want to think too hard. I wanted to let my talents show for themselves and go with that. So I ended up as a math major as a freshman, and it was rough. I will say that. Um, the pace was a lot faster than I was used to, and I just was really unsure of how exactly I should be studying and kind of conducting myself without having those barriers that high school provided. So I eventually spoke to my academic advisor, shout out to Dr. Jekyll, and he showed us all the different paths that we could take when it comes to our major. I remember one time in class we had a upperclassman come in who was actually a combined biology and math major, and that resonated for me so much. I liked math. I understood, the analytical side of me needs to do that, but I also very much needed more of the study of human biology to kind of balance it out a bit more for me. So I ended up as a combined math biology major at Northeastern. And I did go to graduate school actually. After graduating, ended up in regulatory affairs and academia in clinical research. And I loved it. I decided to get my master's in regulatory affairs with a concentration in clinical research. My first year of grad school was something. So, for a little bit of background, I actually only applied to graduate school because I wanted to get managerial positions. I did not want to be a coordinator or a specialist anymore. I wanted to tap into management. And funnily enough, I actually did get my first managerial position maybe like 2 weeks before I started the program. So I had to make a decision as to whether or not I would just continue, and I decided to continue. In that first year, also launched my doula business. So I did my training the summer before, and I started taking on births that fall, that I started the new managerial position, and that I started my master's in regulatory affairs. So I was doing a lot of balancing in those three things. Thankfully, the program that I was in was online, and I had already had 3 years, almost 3 years experience before I did it. So there wasn't much that they were teaching me that was new. I just needed to go through the motions to get the degree. My proudest accomplishment is becoming a doula. I decided to take on the training during the work from home time I had during COVID, and I have never looked back. The first birth really changed things for me. The training was amazing. I learned so much about myself, so much about the space, so much about how to help. Um, but that first birth that I went to, it was 24 hours. It was all the things. We experienced pain relief symptoms, trying to do it naturally, having medical interventions come into play, like using a vacuum. It was a lot for me at 24 years old, but I left that first birth so invigorated. I drove home at 2 in the morning knowing that this is what I want to be doing for the rest of my life. It's almost been 5 years now. This summer will make 5 years that I've been a doula. And aside from being a birth and postpartum doula, I have also added fertility services, loss services, adoption and surrogacy services, perimenopause and menopause services, and end of life services. So I can truly call myself full spectrum. And I have a couple other things up my sleeve for this next stage of my career as well. Thank you guys so much for getting to know me in this video, and I hope to catch you in the next one.